Oh,
I'll remind you.
hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll get started in about 5 minutes. It would be great if you guys can, say your name and where you're from in the chat, which is open for now, and we'll get going in just a little bit. Hey, Joanne from Long Island. We got Texas. I do love seeing where everybody is from. It's very fun. Fort Lauderdale, Minnesota. Get into my settings. Oh my gosh, we've got, oh, Shawnee, hello, more Texas, Ohio, Rogersville, Virginia, Wichita, Fenton, Missouri, another Texas, Texas is well represented. Very fun. Lenexa, we were just talking about Lenexa. I do that. Settings. Change chat management. Yeah, it is. We got more Minnesota. Hey, Lonnie from Edina, Minnesota. Where's that? Oh, Loveland, Colorado. Lucky. Yeah, Wisconsin, Lawrence. Who does not love Lawrence? Las Vegas, Council Bluffs, Iowa. Account management, account settings. Okay, account. Got more Colorado, another Texas. Okay, let me look here. I'm going to do one thing and then we'll start in just a couple minutes. Hmm. Okay. Oh, we've got Southern California, St. Louis, Port Richey, Florida, more Colorado. Okay, we're going to give it just one more minute. Okay. Hey, Philadelphia, New Mexico, my goodness. Seattle, people are still rolling in, guys. So we're gonna give it 1 second. It's automatically recording. It is automatically recording. Okay, great. Okay. Um, all right, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 6:31. So my name is Nancy Mays, and I am co-founder of Boots on the Ground. We are an indivisible group that is based in the Kansas City metro area. We are on the Kansas side, but we work across state line. And we have these Wednesday workshops very regularly. We have about usually a couple times a month. I definitely see some regular locations represented here. So I think some of you have probably been to them before. I want to say that this one is a little bit different than others that we've had because this one is a conversation between two friends. So it's a guided conversation. I have questions that I'm going to be asking them. And then at the end, you all will have questions that we will take. I have tried to disable the comments in the webinar, which is not something I've done before in a webinar, but only in a Zoom. So our ask is that we not chat, that we just listen, because that's what tonight is really about. And then when we're done with our questions, then we can open it up. And if you have questions in the meantime, go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. That's the only place we're going to look for questions. So you can go ahead and put those in there, but they won't get answered until we're done with our conversation. It is being recorded, and we always end up sharing the replay with folks who attend. And because tonight's workshop is a little bit different than others. I'm just hoping for patience from everybody and that we ask questions in very much of an open-hearted spirit. Um, I see that somebody does have their hand raised, and we are going to be waiting for questions. But again, as I said, if you do have a question, you can go ahead and ask it in the question box. So we are going to go ahead and get going and get started. So tonight is about bridging the divide. So all of us know folks who definitely disagree with our own views and our own politics. We have people that we love very, very, very dearly who do not see the world the same way that we do. And I think regardless of wherever you are on the political spectrum, we can all agree that right now it's gotten heated. People are very firmly in their own camps, and we are probably doing a little bit more digging in than listening these days. So again, tonight is just about kind of hearing this conversation, taking some things from it, and then seeing what we can all learn. And I hope at the very end of this that we can have some time for reflection, for folks to put their comments in, for what they did learn. So with that in mind, we're going to ask no chatting, use the Q&A box for questions. Okay. So I'm going to start. I think our questions will probably take 20-25 minutes at most, and then we'll open it up. Okay. So we want to ask, first of all, we have Molly W, if you want to wave.
Hello. Hi.
And we have Molly S. So it's very
Hello.
difficult because they have the same name, but we're going to be able to manage this. Okay, so I thought maybe each Molly could take, a few minutes to kind of say, well, first of all, how did you guys meet? Let's start that, and then we'll get into the other. So how'd you guys meet?
Um, I like to say that if Google Maps had been invented when we met 30 years ago, we probably wouldn't be friends. Um, Molly, want to take it away?
Sure. Yes. Molly and I were introduced through a mutual friend, and we were heading to, I can't remember, either her baby shower or her wedding shower. And we got lost, very lost. What should have taken maybe 30 minutes was probably 2 hours. And we didn't have cell phones or the Google Maps. And so we got a long time for conversation, and we just hit it off, I guess, and became friends.
That's fun.
Yeah,
So
we had to make a call from the middle of a butcher shop in the middle of nowhere to find out where we were going. So that's where it all started.
excellent,
Yes.
excellent.
Yes.
I would love it if you could each take, and I'll be taking turns on who goes first and
Uh,
who doesn't, so we can do that throughout. So we'll start with Molly S. And if you, I want each Molly to take just a couple of minutes, few minutes to talk about your political trajectory. What we're seeking here is for listeners to understand kind of where you came from and then where you are now. We all have our own stories of our of a political trajectory. Some move more than others, right? But we
mhm,
all have them. And I feel like starting with that as kind of grounding us
mhm,
will be helpful. So maybe include things like, what were your political influences growing up? And then what has been your political path as an adult today? And was there
mhm.
a situation or experience that kind of firmed where you are today? So do you want to start, Molly S?
Sure. I grew up in central Kansas. So for all of you who are joining from other states, central Kansas is sort of a Republican country, and that's where I grew up. But that being said, politics was not a kitchen table topic. It was one of those things that working hard, be a decent person, be kind to other people were emphasized in your political party. I mean, it might be like, oh, well, who knows what the Democrats think, right? That was kind of like, it was just a really a non-issue. I went to college and studied political science, and really like learning about political systems. The American system really like there's so much more overlap than there were differences. That was like one of the key things. Like we're really fighting on the margins, but we believe largely in the same things, democracy, freedom,
Mhm.
etc. I worked for Bob Dole in Washington, D.C. one summer. It was the summer that Ross Perot ran for president, and like everybody was coming unhinged at that point in time because it felt like everything as we knew it was being challenged. Um, One of the things I took away from that experience, though, was there was a lot of, again, a lot more, even though you see the fights on the fringes, there was a lot of camaraderie. And we actually all get, and we don't all get along, but there's a lot of friendships that cross the party lines. And so, really, like my takeaway from that is we mostly want the same things. We're fighting for the things that we feel strongly about. And it's probably good for some people to win sometimes and other people to win at other times, just to keep everybody trying hard and doing the right thing. And so, politically, I would consider myself pretty moderate. I've never been a straight line voter, party voter. Like I've always felt like I'm very undisciplined in that sense, that I'm kind of voting for who I think will do the best job. But in 2015, it kind of took a dramatic turn, and I really had to reevaluate kind of my thinking. Um, and we'll talk more, but like when Donald Trump became the candidate, I thought this is a person who speaks about institutions and people in ways that politicians haven't in the past. And it really heightened my attention to the new political environment that was coming on. And so I have shifted quite a bit away from the Republican Party.
Mhm. Okay. And so you did not vote for Trump in either election.
No, like in 2016, I felt like that was the first time in my life that like there is only one choice,
Yeah.
for the good of our country, and that is Hillary. And I've never felt that way before. Like
Mhm.
whoever wins and loses, it'll all even out at some point, but it felt like something very different at that time.
Okay. So rural Kansas, heavily Republican area, worked for Bob Dole, a Republican, and then now firmly planted on the other side.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for that, Molly S. And now, Molly W., if you could do the same thing, kind of political influences growing up, political path as an adult, and was there a moment that sealed your perspective now?
Sure. I, unlike Molly, moved around a lot as a child. So I probably spent more time on the East Coast, Florida, Connecticut, Georgia. Anyway, but I distinctly remember going to family relatives and visiting, and our families did talk politics. And so as a child, I would sit at the table and I would look around and listen to the adults, and they didn't always agree, but they always talked. And so I heard that I wanted to be included in the conversation. So I would think about things that I might want to say, but I was never brave enough to say them. And so there were a lot of discussions. And then we'd eat and we'd go outside and, play, or the cousins would do whatever. And so I think that was an influence on me of just wanting the desire to talk about it and think that it's an important thing to talk about. Um, I went to college, and I actually, in college, by the end, really was into more social justice. I spent a year after college volunteering for an organization, and I worked at a school, and we were all doing social type work. We weren't actually social workers, but I was very into making sure that people who didn't have what I had, I don't know, we had services for them, etc. So I don't know that I ever declared a party at that point, but I do remember I had done a speech in college about vote for Jerry Brown in California. Um, so that's something that stands out in my head. But after college, I did go into the field of education, and I met my future husband, and he was from a very from union family. And so he was the first person I think I met that voted kind of straight ticket. So he and I had a lot of discussions. Why would you do that? I don't understand. And so it's been really good for me to have him to bounce ideas off of. We spend also many dinner table nights talking about it. And so I don't know there was one event, but I've definitely started leaning more right throughout the years. And now I am a registered Republican, um, which is a little bit different to hear from the education side. I have to be, I don't know what the word is at work. I'm obviously we don't talk politics like Molly S. and I do, but I'm very cautious, and I have been. I also voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. And I voted for Joe Biden in 2020 because it wasn't that I thought Joe was the right answer, but I was worried about what would happen having another 4 years of Trump. But I will say, and I know this will come up in 2024, I voted for Trump. So I am one of those people that a lot of people don't understand.
Mhm.
And so maybe we'll get into some more of that. I
Yeah,
don't know.
thank you. No,
You're
that's
welcome.
perfect. Thank you so
Yep.
much. So I think with that in mind, right, since there's one who you voted for Trump, Molly W. and Molly S., you can't imagine a world voting for Donald Trump. How would each of you guys describe the current administration? And I mean, what would be two words, or two or three words that you would describe the person that you did vote for, Molly W., and then Molly S., the person that you did not vote for? So Molly W., do you want to go first this time?
Sure. Okay, so there were a lot of questions in there. So you want me to just give a couple words
Yeah,
of why I voted for Trump?
go ahead and do that. Yes, go yes.
Okay. I
Why'd
mean,
you
I
vote for
think
Trump?
my biggest things were truly just less government and more the policy over Trump as a person. So it is hard for me. I did feel like both choices were difficult. And at one point, I did think, I don't know that I can vote for either. But as things got closer and closer to the election, and the more I would see, again, I have a different lens as an educator. I just decided it felt at the time more common sense. Now I know I can already hear that people will disagree with that, but that's what it felt like to me. So,
Okay. So you voted primarily because you felt like he was going to make government smaller and have less government intervention in
yes.
our lives.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And Molly S.,
Um,
why did you vote for Kamala?
well, honestly, it was first like voting for Trump really just wasn't an option. And I remember Molly and I texted back and forth. We were watching the debate, and it was when Joe Biden was kind of melting down, and she was like, I think I might have to vote for Trump. And I said I would vote for a circus animal before, like I would vote for the elephant before.
Mhm.
Um, so that's where I was. But Kamala really like brought enthusiasm and hope and positivity to
Mhm.
it. And I don't think I would describe myself as a super touchy-feely person, but the cruelty and the way Donald Trump speaks about people just was something it was impossible to overcome to me.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So given that we're going to go back to Molly W. Molly S., would you
Uh-huh.
like that? What do you think then about Trump's current policies? And why do you think the way you think
Mhm.
about them, Molly W.?
Oh,
We're starting with me.
Oh, sorry, no, Molly
oh,
S.
I'll do
I
it.
messed it up.
I'll go for it.
Sorry, no, no, thank you.
So
If only you didn't have the same name, Molly
I
S.
know it's so complicated. It's so complicated. Um, you know, w- if I were to give like three words to describe the current administration and kind of like the order would vary day to day, I would say chaotic, cruel, corrupt, like those three things, and chaotic. It feels like there aren't policies, there are whims that change day to day. So it's sort of like, are we going to have tariffs today or not?
Mhm,
Which is just so disruptive to on so many levels, as are all of the immigration things. Um, cruel. I mean, speaking of immigration, yanking people off the street with their children is something that is unthinkable to me. Um, and then corrupt, like I've just never seen people in public office selling things and benefiting from them. And so
mhm.
those are my three C's.
You have the three
I
hard
have the
C's.
three C's.
Yes, you do. Okay. Thank you, Molly S. And
Uh-huh.
now, Molly W., what do you think about Trump's current policies and what motivates you to think the way you think? What drives that?
Well, this I know this is hard for me on this type of forum,
And so I
especially
appreciate
as I
you.
I know I'm watching all the thumbs up and the hearts and whatever, but honestly, I hear, obviously this is why Molly and I are friends. I hear everything she's saying. I look at immigration and I feel like I think of safety, and I think of safety of children at the border who are not getting trafficked across. And again, I think Molly and I can both have discussions about this, and we're going to find both sides evidence to both of them. Sorry, I need to quit looking. Things are popping up and
I'm so
I'm
sorry.
trying to avoid them.
Well, and I
Um,
apologize. I
I know.
this is a webinar, and so I couldn't figure out how to turn
It's
off
okay.
the chat. So if everybody
It's
could just, yeah.
It's not a big deal, and I know the audience that I have, and look, I'm not here to try to convince anyone of anything
Mhm.
anyway. I think we all that's the whole reason I came on tonight really is because we all agree that we have people in our lives that we don't agree with. And
Yeah.
so we wanted to show kind of that Molly and I can get along even though we don't agree. I could pull up an article about immigration. She could pull up one, and they both have differing opinions, etc.
Which I'm going to get to
But
in a minute. So yeah. So then what do you think about his current policy? So if we could get back to that just before
yeah.
we move on. Thank you.
So, I mean, I think in terms of securing the border, he has done that. I think most of us would agree with that. I think that the very decisive action with the Iranian strikes I was very concerned. Molly and I were texting that night, but it was boom, done and over with. I don't know. I am not a military specialist or a political analyst. I don't know, the future impacts of what this did to the nuclear sites in Iran. But what what I think is that it showed some restraint. And so, yes, Molly mentions chaos, and I can see all those sides, and that's why we can have conversations.
Mhm.
But I also can look at that was a very direct hit and moved on, and we're moving on forward. I don't know that I really have the qualifications to give an overall assessment of any administration. I think you know those things years down the road. And so it is a little bit hard for me to answer that, not because I'm on, yay pro Trump. I don't even know that I, want to talk about Trump all the time because it's more the conservative ideals. So yeah,
Okay.
does that
So
help?
that does. Thank you so much. And I really just want to appreciate the everyone having such grace and being so honest. And I think we're
Yep.
all learning. So I have a quick follow-up for you, Molly W., since you'd mentioned conservative ideas. And one of the reasons that drove you to vote for Trump was the fact that he had promised small government, which is a conservative a conservative principle, and some a reason that a lot of people have in the past and traditionally really liked the Republican Party.
Mhm.
Um, do you think that he is could, fulfilling the promise, or the reason that you voted for him, which was to have limited government intervention?
I don't know yet. I think it's too early to really know that. I think, with the extreme, and I will say chaoticness of the whole Doge, that kind of derailed a lot of what might have been of shrinking down some things.
Mhm.
So again, I don't wanna I can't speak totally to that he's fulfilled every promise, nor do I think any candidate ever really can fulfill every promise, but, I still am okay with who I voted for, which is why I'm on here, but I also don't feel like I need to apologize or defend Trump because I'm not him, and so, this is a bigger thing, I think, than just, about him. And yeah, that was one of my concerns about like I didn't want our conversation to just be only about Trump because it is more about just differing conservative versus more progressive ideals.
So speaking, kind of piggybacking on that, so regardless of where someone stands on the political spectrum, it would be hard to disagree with the idea that the Trump administration has sowed serious doubt about the media and what constitutes a fact, right? Decades ago, there was or before Trump, there was no question a fact was a fact, and that was it. Like, there, you can disagree with it, you can have a different opinion, but a fact was a fact. So, um, Molly S., I guess we'll start with you. Um, how do you all even have a conversation? How do you agree on a common data set when
Uh-huh.
discussing issues? Uh, You know, and
Well, I think, oh, go ahead.
no, no, let's do that, and then I'll ask a different follow-up question. How do you agree on a common data set when discussing issues?
So we usually come with topics. Like when we talk about something, it's usually like, what do you think about this thing. So kind of like, what are you thinking? And then we share what we've been reading. And I think that Molly W. and I both, we have different news sources, but we both kind of have a commitment to cross-referencing things
Mhm.
like, okay, I read this and I looked in three different places, going to like, I'll go to Fox News, to like see what's being said there so I can understand the different political
Mhm.
landscapes. And Molly does the same thing, or when we're talking, a lot of times it's like, I haven't fully fact checked and we'll like look things up together. Um, and so, I think that like we can generally come to an agreement on like what we understand the facts to be. Where we may differ is like, what is then our perception of those, or how do we feel or interpret them? So I don't think that, like, I say, I read the New York Times today, and you must accept this. It
Mhm.
is, I read this. What have you read? What do you think about it? And then we have more of a conversation about it. And I guess, one of the points that I'd like to make is we don't spend time trying to prove each other right or wrong necessarily. It's
Mhm.
more of an understanding. Like, you and I read the same thing, and I completely came away with a different understanding
Mhm.
it. And I want to figure out or understand, how did you come to believe what you believe, or what conclusion did you draw? And I may disagree with it, but I don't think we try to talk each other out of
Mhm.
things, which I think in the end kind of balances us out. Like I feel like we have less tunnel vision.
Mhm. Because of that. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then, Molly W., do you want to address that? How you agree on
Yeah,
anything you want to
I
add to that?
I just wanted to add that I do know that Molly like isn't giving me things, from Facebook sources or things like that. So we definitely, it is an understanding, and it's probably because we've known each other for so long. It's not that I feel like I have to study before I talk to Molly, but I do know that I'm not gonna, yeah, just hear one thing. One thing we did earlier this year, which I thought was really cool, Molly said, well, have you even looked at Project 2025? And I had not. And so we agreed to kind of read one little section, and then we talked about it. I don't know that we ever really, Molly, finished that whole conversation, but that was something we could both look at a source. And the other thing that's big with our friendship is that I'm not trying to change Molly's opinion of anything, nor
Mhm.
is she. I truly is about understanding because, like I said earlier, I have family members that don't agree with me. And I constantly hear of other people, even saying things like, I don't want my kids around my husband's parents. And I just find those things heartbreaking. And so if anything, yeah, I'm hoping we can get that out of this conversation. I know, I'm sorry, Nancy, that was way off
No,
topic.
no, that's great. Don't apologize. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I really appreciate it. I do have one quick question that was sort of I wanted to attach to the previous question, and then I want to piggyback on something you
Yeah.
said. What are your top three news sources?
You want to go first,
My
Molly?
Mhm.
Sure, I'll go first. Well, luckily, because I'm an educator, the New York Times gives us free subscriptions.
Mhm.
So I usually read that first. I'm much more of an audio person, so I listen to the daily, or I listen to
Mhm.
just the news updates. Even Ezra Klein the other day I was listening to. I would say that's one source. NPR, I will look at kind of more of a scan. And then I do have some conservative podcasts that I listen to. So
Mhm.
I kind of, that's my balance.
Yeah. And what are the conservative podcasts just for education purposes for the folks who are here who probably don't listen to any, in case they want to listen to some?
It's
Okay.
okay, Molly. Be brave.
You want me to be brave? I'll be honest. This is scary for me, but okay. Megan Kelly, Ben Shapiro, the All In podcast. I'm trying to think. I guess those are probably my top three.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
And Molly S., what's your news source?
So my news sources are the New York Times. So we
Mhm.
share that. That's the starting point in the morning, and NPR. And then my third, it's all over the place on what my third would be. Like the Atlantic, I read. I'll go over to Fox News and see what's happening over there. I get a lot of just news off of Blue Sky. I had to leave Twitter, but just to kind of see what's going on. And then I
Sure.
pursue news sources after that.
Okay. So we'll get to group questions to audience questions in just a couple of minutes. So please be thinking of those folks. But one thing I wanted to ask was that, lots of friends or family members are on different sides of the political spectrum and always have been. And but in this current environment, a lot of people don't see it as just red versus blue or liberal versus conservative. It's a matter of having fundamentally different values. What do you all think about that? Molly S., you want to go first?
Molly W., you go first.
Okay, Molly W.
Yeah, I kind of go back to what Molly S said at the beginning, that we're arguing things on the margins. I truly believe that humans want good things to happen. So Molly and I, when we look at, starving children in Gaza, of course we are both deeply impacted by that. And I think we have way more in common than we do differences. And yeah, I'm going to go back to just humans in general, and Americans in general, that we're, freedom of speech is important. And again, we can take that on both sides. The left says they feel like they're not being able to say things. The right does. I mean, we go back and forth. But I think fundamentally we have very common values.
Yeah. And I think that like similarly, um, with Molly, I don't feel like we have a values difference. When I started, I was like being honest, hard worker, kind to other people. I've never seen Molly not be those
Hmm.
things. Um, I think it's helpful to me, the having the conversation and understanding is important just because I am, curious. There would be like if I felt like there would be lines to cross, like I know Molly is not a racist, Molly is not homophobic, she's not a white Christian nationalist, like those would be things that'd be like, okay, I think we can't that would be a values difference that is unbridgeable. But really we share a lot of the same values, the way we go. I think that like one of the things that we've talked about a lot is like the means to this. We might want the same end. Our means of getting there are very different.
Okay. Okay. So is there, and after this, I want to open it up to other
Uh,
folks' questions. Is there one topic that that you just has caused frustration because the
mhm.
other Molly, is there one sort of hot topic where you're like, I feel really frustrated that we don't see eye to eye on this, and it might be a topic that you just sort of avoid talking about, or maybe you've even said this is off limits. Is there any topic like that that you've
I
gotten really frustrated with?
I I can't. I tried to think of some, and I can't think of any. I mean, we kind of started at the beginning with the immigration, but again, I we were both talking about two different things. I mean, Molly was talking about how immigration, people were being taken out of the country, and I was talking about people not coming in, but we can still talk about it. So I don't know, Molly, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's an issue. I don't think that there is an issue that's caused
Mhm.
frustration. And I wouldn't even say frustration. There's been like points I'm like, I can't believe that
Mhm.
Molly has not tipped to the other side. I'm not like trying to
Mhm.
be convincing, but like, um, like again, I'm not trying to like talk Molly W out of anything. It's just been, I guess I would say not surprised, but frustrated. Not
Mm.
frustrated, but surprised.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that this is still where we're at, but it's okay that
Hmm.
it is.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna find the questions. Let's see where we are. Here we are. Okay. So, so somebody, okay, did Molly W did know that Trump was going to be the tool for Project 2025? Did you know that Project 2025 was written and that Donald Trump was the instrument to, to make it happen?
That's a hard one for me to answer because just the way that was worded is not something I would agree with, or so I don't know that I can even answer that.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to.
Okay. Okay. So what about a couple people have asked about Epstein, where we fall on the Epstein files and the fact that it really was, I mean, and can't argue, it was a core tenet of, fueling the conservatism
Mhm.
and we are now possibly going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, and it doesn't really matter who's in it, who wasn't in it. So without a doubt there has been shifting. That is inarguably true. How do you feel about that, Molly S, Molly W, whoever wants to go first?
I mean, like, this is one of those things that we actually have not had a chance to have a full conversation, 'cause we usually sit down for coffee and have a nice conversation. I think it kind of freaks everybody out that's sitting around us. Um, but Epstein is one of those that I look at and it just seems so obvious to me that
Mhm.
like there are people, I am 100% confident there are people on that list that are people that I currently admire,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, it is when one of the key talking points was we're going to release these files, but then now the files aren't released. I'm um the most innocuous is I'm just puzzled.
Mhm.
But then I think like there's probably more sinister things at hand, and
What
I
they
don't know
are.
the full extent of it.
Okay. And what about you, Molly W?
Yeah, again, Molly and I kind of briefly touched on this. I know that yes, the promise was full transparency, and I I don't know what's in the files. I'm sure, like Molly said, there are people in there that are way, I think, more powerful than even our president. But again, that's just a lay person's thought of it. I think the transparency, you can't always have that in a government for everything. And so we do have national security issues that we're not going to know about. And that's an okay thing with me. Yes, this was promised. I don't, it always, this whole thing just keeps coming back to just Trump. And that to me gets away from, I don't know how to talk to somebody else. Like, Molly and I aren't going to spend a lot of time probably talking about this because it's
Mhm.
all guesses. We don't
Mhm.
know anything.
Mhm. Okay, so when there is an issue, like let's take a core issue that is just kind of at the center of our democracy, which is, you know, the Constitution. Is that something that you all have tried to navigate, discussing, right? And if so, like how? How have you navigated discussing that?
Yes, we have, and there's a bunch of on the fly constitutional lawyering that neither one of us are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that really like executive power, things like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
what are the boundaries of that, and what are our understandings of it? And so, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
really, it's the conversation about this is what the Constitution says.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening now, and how does that how does that align or not with
Mhm.
the Constitution? And again, I feel like this is one of those things that we can both read it and agree it says one thing and interpret the actions differently.
Mhm.
And, I don't know how to reconcile, like, I think that people want us to be like, well, we come to some agreement, but we kind of
Mhm.
don't. And I think
Mhm.
that that's probably why we get along. We kind of like choose to just respect, okay, you got there, may not
Mhm.
agree with it, but it is okay.
Mhm.
I will say that I Molly is much more educated on the Constitution than I am. So when she I even there have been times when we'll text and I'll say, "Well, is this constitutional?" Because I will fall on her to tell me whether it is or not. And Molly's, big thing has been like, is this the rule of law? And she'll go back to that very consistently. And so I respect that. And my background is not in political science at all or the Constitution. So I don't ever want to talk like I know something when I don't. So that also I think helps, yeah, our friendship. I usually will yield. I'll say, "Okay, Molly, you're right." But as we all know, even if it is against like things are happening right now that shouldn't be. I mean, we all know that. So that's on both sides.
Yeah.
Um, so in terms of like your core values and how you talk about politics, and I hope that you all can give an honest
Uh-huh.
answer here. Um, do you speak about it a little bit differently, Molly S, knowing that Molly W doesn't agree with you on any level? I mean, if you and I were to have a conversation about immigration, the raids in Lenexa,
Uh-huh.
restaurants for those not from Kansas City were raided
Uh-huh.
here this week, would you speak differently about it to me than you would to Molly W?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
think that I'd have a very different conversation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't change my thought or my
Mm-hmm.
opinion based on, I know that this is not going to be real well received. Sometimes I might preface it like, I think you're probably going to disagree with me on this.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is.
Right.
What do you think? So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that there's a censoring of
Okay.
conversation. I think that there's an awareness that like this, you may disagree with this, but I do, one of the things that like again having conversations across the political aisle is I don't think that we've ever gone into hurtful territory.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you're an idiot because you think this, or
Right.
you're a terrible human being because you think this. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
more of like trying to understand and not attack each other, which I really feel like is part of it. Like we know we don't have to defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it'll be okay in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Molly,
Did you?
what do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't feel like I censor really. I'm a little guarded, I'll be honest, right now,
Sure.
in this conversation, but typically I'm not. And so no, Molly will get it. And when I'm asking her or when we do disagree, I love it because then I learn something new. I mean, there's always going to be pieces of information that I don't have all the info. And Molly does read a lot more than I do and probably talk, we all have different experiences. So I love to hear where she's coming from because then it also helps me talk to other people I know that, have differing opinions from
Mhm.
me too.
Well, one of the things that I will say though, I mean, in fairness, like I have seen something that's outraged me, and I feel like I've been a bit of a flamethrower. Like, I'll send something to Molly and be like, what do you think of this? As if you have to like, and then like I realize you cannot justify this. This is unfair. I think we both had things that we've like kind of like thrown out in frustration in general, but then realized like, okay, dial it back a notch. That was not fair for me to send that to Molly and have her defend it because it's not her doing.
So, do you guys, so the question here is, how do you best start a question when someone is set in stone, right? You know, you guys have your opinions,
Uh-huh.
and you see the world how you see it, and you see what's happening, you know, with in your own way. And you're saying that you're not really trying to change the other person's mind,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, what value do you find in discussing things?
My biggest thing is for more understanding, uh, again, I can't see all the opinions or all the pieces, and so having someone who's as well versed in the Constitution or their sources as Molly, I do gain a lot of knowledge, and then it will maybe make me question, maybe I shouldn't be thinking that, or it will, I don't know, lead me to look into something else. I mean, I
Mhm.
still remember Molly as saying, like, we are not letting, I feel like so much of this has become just about that one person in charge. And Molly's like, we are not letting him, ruin a 30-year friendship.
Mhm.
And that's the reality because we used to talk, politics all the time, but it had that he is so divisive, as we can tell, even, as I'm reading all these comments coming
Mhm.
in, and it can't, I don't ever want him to be the focus. It should be, what's happening, the policies, etc. So I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I do not want to give Donald Trump that much power over
Yeah.
my life to,
Mhm.
disintegrate a 30-year relationship. And I'd say, like, what I get out of it is I do learn, I think about things in a different way. Again, I might not agree with
Mhm.
it, but to really kind of understand. And I'm really aware of being in an echo chamber. Like,
Mhm.
only hearing the things that I agree with
Mhm.
is very unhelpful. It feels great,
Mhm.
but it's also unhelpful. It's kind of like, again, having different voices is so important. Otherwise, things get missed. And I feel like it's just an opportunity for me to not miss things.
Mhm. Do you feel though that talking about politics in this moment in time is really very different than ever having talked about it in our entire lives?
Oh, 100%. And
Yep.
very different because there is, I think right now the environment is a lot of just cut people off. Like
Yeah.
that's the quickest solution is to
Mhm.
cut people off. And I am not at all above saying like there are some people that I won't have a conversation with
Mhm.
because I don't think they come at it in good faith. I don't
Mhm.
think they come at it from a perspective of understanding or even wanting to respect my opinion. And
Mhm.
so it's one of those things that, yeah, there are some people that I choose to not have conversations with because I don't think that it would be something that I could learn from.
Mhm. Do you so someone asked this question, uh, Peggy, I feel you. How do you keep from yelling or turning off? It's like shutting down. Well, I'm sure everybody feels that,
Uh-huh.
every side,
Yeah,
right? The country feels this, right?
right.
How do
Yeah.
you keep from either yelling or just turning off? Like, how do you guys keep doing it? Because there have been much closer relationships than a
Yeah.
30-year friendship that have been, and people have the right to have their own boundaries and to say
Uh-huh.
this is not within my values, not my boundaries. I have a boundary. I'm not going to deal with it. So I don't want to dismiss that,
Sure.
but how do you all keep going?
I don't think, any one person, like, we're not only just about politics or whatever. I mean, we can maybe we decide to go paddleboarding or something and we focus on that activity. And so if it got to that with Molly and myself, it hasn't. But I think we're so much bigger than just this. And yeah, we cannot allow in the day to day of my existence, this can't be the only thing that's in my head. But I do understand because I have family members that I can't talk to quite as well as I can with Molly. And I don't, sometimes when you're closer to people, you can be more honest with them. And that's when, yes, you might butt heads a little bit more. But life is so much bigger than this.
Molly, yes.
Um, well, I first, it's not really in my nature to yell at people, so I
Mhm.
guess that's one thing. But again, I have a high level of frustration and outrage at the world at large. I don't have that outrage and I don't direct that at Molly. Um,
Mhm.
like that's it would be very easy to just lash out because again, that feels good.
Mhm.
Um, but I want to respect the relationship. Now, that being said, like I don't know, like I really respect Molly and her husband having very different opinions and living under the same roof
Mhm.
because that would be very hard for me. Um,
Mhm.
that would be something that if I felt like um I didn't have that common feeling in my household, I think it would be a
Mhm.
lot harder for me. So I give hats off to Molly and her husband for navigating that.
Um, and I want to go back to one thing because I have seen it in the questions and the comments, and possibly I have a bias toward it as well. So that could be
Yeah.
making it pop out to me. But I do you each see it as a values difference? And I don't, again, in
Uh-huh.
ordinary years, it's maybe not. But to me, the way the world is right now, it's like talking with somebody who has a completely different
Uh-huh.
set of values and maintaining a friendship with them. But do you all see it like that or no?
Um, I again, I really, I feel like, and I know this is where it's going to be, it's nuanced. I
Mhm.
think we have a lot of common values. Like, I think we believe in the dignity of all people, that you should, care and respect for other people. It's like, I think it's our, I don't want to speak for Molly W, but like, where we differ is in the method of getting there. And
Okay.
I guess you could argue that that's a value judgment, but like I think that we'll just like use immigration.
Yeah.
I think that like we can all agree immigration has always been it's something that needs to be revisited, right?
Mhm.
Like it was not working. There are things that need to change.
Mhm.
I think we agree to that. And
Mhm.
that's a value of, maintaining control in some ways. But it's the method that, like, it's like mind boggling to me of what we're doing. And I can't speak for Molly, but I mean, that would just be one issue that I think that, I don't know. I feel like we have the same values. It's just a different way of getting to those values.
Okay.
I don't know.
Shannon,
I
you
don't know,
see it,
Molly.
Molly W?
Yeah, I agree with you. We tend to have, yes, the same big values. I feel like I'm again distracted by some of the comments, and I don't know
Sorry.
if you're trying to ask. It's okay. Like, do we both think that our democracy is under attack right now? That may be a question we both need to talk about. I don't feel that way, but I'm seeing like things popping up right now. And maybe that's where, if somebody truly, yes, felt that way, it is going to be hard to have conversations with your friend
Mhm.
if they're in support. So those, maybe we're tiptoeing around that. I don't, is that what you kind of want to ask more? Like, I don't, the fact that we're able to have this conversation to me speaks volumes.
Mhm.
So,
So I guess before there's so many other questions, and most of them are about policies,
yeah.
Uh-huh.
directed, and the framing of this was more like, how do you guys keep going? We have had to talk about policies though, because
Right.
Right.
that's
Yeah.
Of
the very
course.
point that we see so
Yep.
differently on. Um, if you were to give advice to folks who want to stay in relationship with somebody on the opposite side, can you think of a couple of things that you would want to tell them that has worked for you all?
I would say just start with like a consistent meeting time. And again, make it a casual thing and just maybe start not talking about those things, like, but be willing to see the person. I've kind of experienced this with my own brother. He and I are on very different things, and we just started taking some walks together, and just that it has been incredibly good, and it's taken a long time, but I that would be my advice. Consistently try to make an effort to meet with that person, because
Mhm.
it's very easy over text or email or
Mm.
even a chat to throw things out, but when you're walking next to that human, I think then you're building a different relationship that's way more than just the disagreements over politics.
Mhm. That sounds like really good advice, I think. I do. Molly, do you have any advice for folks who are wanting to stay in relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I really like what Molly W said. It's kind of like sometimes you can get so narrowly focused on one thing to
Yeah.
like forget that, like, oh, wait a second. We like all these other things about this person, and maybe we can now have a
Hmm.
conversation. Um, really, I think part of it is coming with curiosity, like not demands. Like, I really want to understand, or how would that work? Like, I'm not even going to say you're wrong. I just want to understand, how do you think that that would work? You know, trying trying to convince just creates defensiveness, and then it becomes an arms race. And
Hmm.
so, if it's a game of tug of war, just put down the rope.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, I think that's really helpful. And I was looking back at my notes, the part about, not trying to change opinions, is a new perspective for me in a discussion about politics.
And you're like, why? Why would
Thank you
you
for
even
that.
talk if you're not trying to convince?
What's that about? Um, as we wrap up, I wanted to share a couple of thoughts with people. We had another Wednesday workshop, which was how to talk with your MAGA aunt. It is on our YouTube page, and at Boots on the Ground Midwest, and strongly encourage you all to go watch that. It is from the perspective of a friend of Molly's, actually, who's from Western Kansas, which is deeply red and deeply MAGA, and she kind of offers some practical tips for how to have those conversations. So, really, really recommend that you all do that. This will be available for we recorded it, so we'll send it back out. And I just wanted to say one other thing. I'm going to put up here a little bit of information about Boots on the Ground. Well, we're not going to do that. That's just going to take look at my messy desktop. We're not doing that tonight. Anyway, we are self-funded. If you guys would like to help support our work, we have all the information in the world on our website, but most importantly, please keep engaging in these webinars. They're all meant for educational purposes. If you have a topic that you think you would like to see, then let us know. You can just email us at Nancy at Boots on the Ground Midwest or info at Boots on the Ground Midwest. But mostly, I want to thank Molly W. and Molly S. And Molly S., well, we are friends and I adore you and I am thanking you. Molly W. had the bigger swing in this conversation. And so I definitely want to thank you for coming on and for, agreeing to be vulnerable, both of you, actually. And I think that we do need more of that, more listening, more understanding. This is, we forget, a moment in time. The pendulum has swung very far. When pendulums swing very far, they always go back. It doesn't matter which way. And so you two are set up to maintain that friendship when it does. And I think a lot of people who logged on tonight are hoping that they can do the same. So thank you guys very much. Really grateful.
You're welcome,
Thanks,
and thank
Nancy.
you as well.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
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 You guys can sign off.
Bye,
Go enjoy your
everybody.
evening. Bye. Thanks. Trying to figure out how to save the chat. There we go. Okay. Bye, Molly. Nice meeting you. Thank you.